The HomeTech podcast is supported by you. To find out more, go to HomeTech.fm/support.
This is the HomeTech podcast for Friday, April 19th from Denver, Colorado. I'm Jason Griffin.
And from Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Seth. We are enjoying some absolutely beautiful spring weather here in Colorado, although we had a blizzard last week. So, 'tis the season, I suppose.
'Tis the season. Yeah, I saw that you mentioned the blizzard, and like when you mention weather, it's like I feel like, you know, in the olden days where you get a telegraph and then like 3 days later it shows up here.
Yeah,
and
then you get it there.
Yeah. So I'm prepared. I'm ready for it. I mean, blizzard went down to like 60 degrees, but yeah, tough at night. And
at night.
Yeah, one of the things I saw the other day, they launched the rocket. We were talking about those. They launched the Falcon Heavy. Yeah. So it went up, everything came back, and they landed all three pieces perfectly fine. And then that storm that you had kind of blew through, and the one that was landed out at sea blew over at sea. They lost the third piece because of rough seas. So that's number two that they've lost in the ocean.
Somebody forgot to tie it down, or what?
I don't even know how that works, like, because it's an autonomous robot ship thing. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's out there to tie it down.
Crazy. All right. Well, we've got a fun show here. Another busy week in the news. So we're going to jump in. What do you say we get started and talk about some home tech headlines?
Let's do it. Snap AV surprised everyone at ISC West 2019 this week with the launch of the new Claire 1 security and smart home system. The system is a self-contained panel similar to offerings from Qualys, 2GIG, and Honeywell, with a similar price point and monitoring/smart home service features. However, the product differs in a few interesting ways. First, Claire claims that they will integrate with popular third-party home automation systems like Control4, Crestron, and Savant when it launches later this year. Second, the panel will incorporate Snap AV's OvrC platform for remote monitoring and management. All in all, pretty interesting bullet points there.
Yeah, interesting partnership. And the story goes on to say Claire 1 will include a 7-inch touchscreen, 5-megapixel camera. You got Z-Wave Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, 433 megahertz radios, cellular, of course, included. Onboard siren, voice enunciator, all the stuff you would expect, I guess, from a security system, and mentions Amazon Alexa support as well. So, interesting new partnership there for Snap AV. I know they've never had a control system really in their offering, and this isn't really a control system per se. But it does kind of give them a new sort of interesting category that they're selling. So looks like a good deal for both of them.
Yeah. Now we know what that partnership that happened a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
Now we know a little bit more about it.
It's kind of a prelude.
Yep.
All right. Well, moving on here, Logitech announced a new remote control that shakes up what consumers have come to expect from the company's Harmony lineup. The Harmony Express has a revamped, tiny design that gets rid of the touchscreen and many programmable buttons of other Harmony remotes. Instead, Logitech is building Amazon Alexa directly into the remote, giving the palm-sized device both a microphone and speaker for its digital assistant. The Express is aimed at, quote, casual consumers, end quote, who want to walk into their living room, turn on the TV, and get to Netflix or Prime Video with voice commands. The device has a retail price of $249 and is shipping right now.
$249. I can't even.
There's some dialogue in the hub this week about this one, and it is kind of an interesting offering. Like casual consumers, somebody, I think Robert in the hub was pointing out, they say they're targeting casual consumers, but the price point is $249, which, for a remote is not typically something a truly casual consumer is going to go out and spend. So interesting there. The design's definitely interesting as well. Very, very minimal.
Yeah. I mean, there's no, like you said, there's no touch screen. It's just got a couple buttons, and it's got the weird Amazon Alexa orb thing at the top. I don't know. Like it's like a pill shape. I'm not the biggest fan of Harmony remotes. So like I can't really say I'm excited about this. But I mean, in $249, when all it's offering is Harmony, the Harmony remote with like a voice assistant attached onto it. I don't know. Like it seems like Cavo's a better price at $100 or $69 or even $49. I've seen them on sale recently. So like it seems like that's that's a better deal. Or just using like any one of these like Roku or Apple TV, they all have voice assistants built into them as well. So like you could just use one of those devices and kind of get the same thing out of it. I don't know why this product exists. And I'm like, we know that Logitech says that this division hemorrhages money every year. I can't imagine coming out with a product like this that's substantially different from what I was reading. It's substantially different than their other. It's not even compatible with their other hubs or apps or anything. It's like a completely standalone product. I can't imagine that's a good thing if it's not successful.
Greg in the chat room is asking why you're not a fan of Logitech. They're up and working in 10 minutes. I don't know if Greg's being straight-faced or sarcastic when he says.
No, he's not. Greg's been putting them in, and I was happy to say that a decade ago, until I had to basically eat about 30 or 40 of those things, and I'm sure that the process and hardware has changed in that time frame. But man, I had a string of bad luck, and it's just like never again.
Yeah, so Greg is confirming he is not. Looks like he is a fan. So I guess to each his own. I haven't used or touched a Logitech remote in so many years that I cannot speak to them personally. As far as
and I will say that I did buy my parents one for like a Christmas present or something and send it to him, and it was cool. My dad set it up by himself, and then by the time I had visited, like it was already dead. So it's like
already broke.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, Don says they were cool, but they broke. So
that's been my experience.
Kind of a big deal. All right, well, shifting gears here, Amazon might compete more directly with Spotify in the near future. Billboard sources maintain that Amazon is in talks to debut a free ad-supported service as soon as next week. You'd only have access, I should say, to a limited catalog, but this would also give you something to play on your Echo speaker without having to pay to sign up for another service. While it's not clear how much music would be available, it's reportedly willing to pay, quote, some labels per stream, no matter how many ads run alongside those songs. Amazon is not currently commenting on this rumor.
That'll be cool. Give us another option to play besides Spotify before the show.
It's going to get I feel like it's going to get very confusing with Amazon because they've already got, so like I'm a Prime subscriber. I've talked about that before. And so we use the Prime streaming service occasionally here with our Echo at home. But then Amazon also has their, I think it's called Music Unlimited, which is like their more premium offering with a bigger catalog. And now it appears they may even have like a third tier. So free, and then what's included with Prime and Unlimited. Not a huge deal, but certainly something to consider, especially for, if you're, say, a professional and trying to help your clients sort of understand the landscape, or perhaps like helping parents or something like that. This sort of thing can get really confusing.
I didn't even know that they had an upgraded version now, and this is the third tier. Like we can tell it to play certain songs, and then some of it's like it's not included, and we're like, okay, well, we just won't listen to that song.
Yeah, I think it's called Amazon Unlimited Music, I believe. I'm looking it up right now, but yeah, every now and then we'll ask for a song on Prime, and it'll play a preview or something, and then it'll say this is only available on Music Unlimited. Would you like to upgrade?
I can tell you that Amazon is no stranger to confusing pricing on their like AWS side. Like
that's very true.
Oh my God, it is insane. You cannot figure out how much a service is going to cost. You just basically have to run with it. And 1 month I set some servers up for our like database replication and everything for the office, and then like the next month we had like a $800 bill, and I was like. Well, I guess we don't need those big of servers to do this with, so like back those down. But yeah, I mean, there's just figuring out and doing pricing on these things is just there's no way to do it. So they're bringing that over from AWS to the consumer side. They're gonna be successful.
It's the spaghetti strategy.
Yeah,
right. Just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. No, in all seriousness, I mean, I guess it's good to have options, but yeah, it's getting a little bit confusing. I feel like, for sure.
Now here's a long one about Amazon. According to Bloomberg, thousands of Amazon employees are listening to Alexa user recordings every day for quality control purposes and to fine-tune the product. And in some cases, they're listening in on embarrassing or even criminal activities. Yay. The team comprises of a mix of contractors and full-time Amazon employees who work at outposts located in Boston to Costa Rica, India, and Romania. According to the people who signed an NDA barring them from speaking about the program publicly. They worked 9 hours a day. Oh, this sounds horrible. 9 hours a day, and each reviewer parses as many as 1,000 audio clips per shift. According to
where do I sign up?
Just, oh my God. One worker in Boston said he mined accumulated voice data for specific utterances such as Taylor Swift and annotated them to indicate the searcher meant the music artist. Occasionally, the listeners also pick up things Echo owners would rather stay private, like a woman singing badly off key in the shower or a child screaming for help. The board teams, I guess I should say, use internal chat rooms to share files when they need to help parsing out a muddled word or come across something amusing. And according to a statement from an Amazon spokesman, employees do not have direct access to information that can identify the person or account as part of this workflow. All information is treated with high confidentiality, and we used multi-factor authentication to restrict access, service encryption, and audits of our control environment to protect it.
Interesting. Yeah.
I this thing came across last week, and I was just like, this is a hit piece. It totally is
the
a
headline's
hit piece.
The headline's an attention grabber.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Bloomberg here did this original piece, and I agree. I mean, I know you've got some thoughts as it relates to other services like Apple, for example, doing this sort of thing. It's also great.
The exact same thing. Like Apple, in this article, so that those paragraphs you see there, I'm not going to read them, but you can see there's 2 paragraphs there. It literally lays out that Apple and Google are doing the exact same thing. Now, I copied and pasted those from the same article, which is like pages long about Amazon. And it says, oh yeah, Apple and Google do the same thing.
Footnote.
Yeah, footnote. Yeah, it's like, but why did they go into this much detail about Amazon when like this is industry practice to do this with? Like this is how you train machines.
Well, I think some of the things, and I'm not defending the piece, but some of the things that I'm sure get people's sort of blood up, which I'm sure happens at the other places too, is like, you can just sort of see the people like internally sharing like the funny audio clips in their Slack channel or whatever they're using and having a laugh about it. But it's like,
I would do that. I mean, 1,000 of those a day. I would, if I ran across something funny, you're going to know about it.
And it's like The stakes are so high for these companies when it comes to privacy that I personally, when I hear them make statements like, there's no way that this is personally identifiable information, like these clips cannot be tied back to an individual or whatever, like me personally, I believe that. Like why would a company like Amazon with so much to lose in terms of consumer trust, like that's at the core of everything that these companies do. And I can understand I can understand and empathize with the emotional reaction that people have to pieces like this, but it doesn't get to me personally. It's it's one of those things that you just sort of have to accept. And there's a great piece in Digital Trends actually that I think does a good job of sort of breaking down like why this actually isn't that big of a deal. And it's really sort of 3 parts. Like number 1, people know that Amazon records the conversations between them and their Echo. Like obviously, like it has to. And none of the recordings that these people were listening to, they were all recordings that were triggered by the wake word. It's not as if the device is just listening continuously. It's reasonable also to assume that human beings are listening to these recordings is another point this piece makes. You alluded to it. Apple, Google, other companies do this. It's apparently part of how they help machine learning get better. Like humans have to be involved in that process. And then finally, voice assistant speaker users have already traded their privacy for convenience. And this is something we've talked about on the show before in terms of sort of having to look at the smart home in a pragmatic sense. Like you are inviting connected devices into your home. With that comes some inherent trade-off of your privacy. Now, of course, there are limits to that. and we should all be able to expect that those reasonable limits will be adhered to. But ultimately, it doesn't seem to me like Amazon did anything wrong here. And Bloomberg certainly got a lot of clicks out of it, but I see nothing to be alarmed about with regards to this story.
I agree. And I'm about as big an Amazon fan, or Amazon Echo fan, I should say. I like their Prime stuff, but I'm a big Amazon fan as much as I am a Logitech fan. So like, I'm not going to go out of my way to defend what is arguably just a garbage product that works. That's what it is. And like, there are better products out there that work better. But Amazon was the first to market with it, and there it is. But I'm not like, this seems like a hit piece, and it's like the Ring just got in trouble for the exact same thing, which they're Amazon too, from the Intercept a couple months ago or a couple weeks back. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but it seems like these tech publications should know a little bit better and use their time to maybe educate people on what this machine learning is all about, because obviously it's happening industry wide. Obviously it's happening in both video and audio. Like, you can't get from a computer knowing the word Taylor Swift without telling it this is what the word Taylor Swift sounds like, right? Like, you have to physically manually do that. And Jason, you say that different than I do. It's tomato, like, everybody has different inflections and dialects in their speech, and these machines are expected to learn and know these every single time. And there's no way that can ever happen. There's no way that Siri can get any better without somebody going in there and fat fingering in exactly what you said. Like, it's just never going to happen. So I applaud Amazon and Siri and Google for doing this and making their voice assistants better. And like, this is just how it's done. So, man, I don't know what. I guess they're going for the clicks. That's really all there is to it. Like, it's just a clickbait piece, and I guess we fell for it by talking about it so much.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good conversation though, because you do have to kind of dispel these things, and certainly, I know our audience is not exclusively home tech pros, but that's one great example of where, as a former integrator, these sort of stories hit Bloomberg, and then you get Don, that's great. He said, just shake it off. That's funny.
Yeah, my Taylor Swift reference again.
There's our Taylor Swift reference for the week. But anyways, yeah, you got to be educated about these things, I think, and get past just what you see in the headlines and really understand, so that you can speak in an educated way with your clients and whomever else, family or friends, who are interested in this sort of thing, so that
good point.
People can make educated decisions based on reality and not just what they saw in a headline. Anyways, stepping off my soapbox now, and moving to more, I guess, not mundane, but run-of-the-mill type of news, but a big one, Disney Plus. We've been hearing about this coming for a while. Been plenty of rumors and news sort of circulating around, and we've finally got some real hard news and an idea about what Disney's going to be doing. So just in time for the holidays, Disney's new streaming service, Disney Plus, will launch worldwide November 12th with an initial subscription price of $6.99 per month, or a discounted offering of $69.99 per year, $70 per year. The service will feature content from all of Disney's major properties, including Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, National Geographic, Fox, and more. Content created exclusively for the service will also be available, such as a Monsters, Inc. spin-off series, the Sandlot TV series, ooh, good one there, and many new Marvel projects, all of which are reportedly in the works. In the first year, Disney aims to offer up 7,500 television episodes and 500 films from the Disney library. All content will be downloadable from the platform. So pretty cool. Good price point. $7 a month.
Yeah, I worry that it says initial subscription price of $7 a month. And then, I mean, I worry I'm going to pay it, whatever it is. Like, yeah, it's going to happen. But I wonder if that means it's going to go up.
Anthony in the chat room, just right before you said that, said, and all the parents with young daughters, I would say young children, open up their wallets.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep. It's
absolutely.
This $69, $70 a year is gone, in my opinion. And I mean, it's
already written it off.
Yeah, that's really not that bad. But I do wonder if it's going to go up in the next couple of years. It sounds like as they get this thing rolling, get more seasons put on there, they may start bumping it up into Netflix territory too, where, then you start kind of questioning, is this, a streaming thing any good? Because after you pay for internet and then all of these streaming services, like, where's the value? Like, how far do we go, and how do I pick it? Because Apple TV Plus could come out and be at a decent value later this year. It could be like $7 or $8 a year, maybe $9 a year, or $9 a month, and like I'll pick that up just to kind of take a look at what's hot on there. So I don't know. We're getting so many of these streaming services. Like it's gonna add up to basically a bundled cable price at some point.
Yeah. No, it's getting up there, and we'll include a link, excuse me, in the show notes from Mashable, and author talks exactly about what you're talking. Right, he says choosing a streaming service used to be simple. A decade ago, you had two big ones, Netflix and Hulu, and now he says nowadays you've got, just to rattle off a few here, PlayStation Vue, Sling TV, YouTube TV, Amazon Video, HBO Now, CBS All Access, Fubo, DirecTV Now, Apple TV Plus. And of course now Disney Plus, and I'm sure there are probably half a dozen fairly substantial other offerings out there that I'm not, or that he's not including on this list. So like, yes, there are a ton of these out there. He talks about how researching and comparing every service is really painstaking task. It's true. I think there are some good resources out there. I know there are some that we've pointed to on the show in the past. But ultimately, to really get like a comprehensive look at everything that's out there is very, very difficult, because often you're not comparing apples to oranges either. Some of them offer live TV, others don't. Some of them have different tiers. So like Sling TV comes to mind as an example. I know they've got several, like they do, I think, a pretty good job of having some really skinny bundles and then bigger packages that have more channels. So how do you start to compare that? So very, very, very difficult. I got to say that I think the article's good for a read. It's sort of maybe cathartic a little bit, certainly for the author to write it. Ultimately, for me, I have a hard time complaining about choice, right? Like, we just have a lot of choices. And yes, it's confusing. And yes, that comes with an inherent downside, but it's also generally a positive. Like, you can pick and choose. And the beauty of these services is you can create an account and then cancel the next month, and you can duck in and out, like do whatever you want, activate HBO for Game of Thrones and then shut it off and move on to the next one. Like, you do have a lot more flexibility now and a lot more choice than you used to. I do get it. There's some inherent sort of headaches that come along with it in terms of just figuring out which one is right for you. And then, of course, like you alluded to, the economics of it. By the time you factor in a high-speed internet connection and 3 or 4 streaming services, you are right back up to what you were paying for cable. But ultimately, the question you have to ask is, like, what quality of cable? I know for me, like, we had we were paying like $125 a month or something for DirecTV, and we watched almost nothing on DirecTV. Like, the content is just better, in my opinion, for streaming. So even if the pricing goes up, nowadays, to me, like, the content is better. It suits our lifestyle more. It's what our kids want to watch. It's what my wife and I want to watch. So ultimately, to me, even as the price starts to go up, I feel like I'm still getting plenty of value.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with that. And you may have gotten 3,000 channels on DirecTV, but you only saw value in like 3 or 4 of those, right? Like,
right.
You kind of get that now. Like, that's what they're kind of gunning for with Netflix and Hulu, is like they want you to see value in like the types of shows. Like, Netflix has thousands of shows that you can access. I don't know, maybe not thousands, but they have a lot of shows that you can access on there. And like, I only find value in a couple of them, but you know what? It's enough to keep me busy. It's enough to keep me watching, and paying for the service every month. But I wonder. I mean, there's going to be a good a good service, I guess, to pay somebody to kind of manage these and keep flipping the switches on these in the future, right? Like, it seems like this is right for an app. Like, streaming monitor or something like that, where you can turn off Netflix this month, and then that after you wrap up this thing, and then turn on Hulu. And
there you go. Yeah. So, there's always two sides to the coin, pros and cons, and I get it. It's a pain, and the dream of cutting your $125 or $150 cable bill and going down to something like $12 and having everything that you could possibly want is just not a reality. And so ultimately we're seeing now, we're starting to see more, especially this year with all of the pricing increases that are happening. We're just starting to see a more realistic picture of the economics of streaming, and to get the kind of quality and choice in the content we want, it costs money. And ultimately, I do think where there is room for improvement is what companies like Sling TV are doing. And again, I'm a Luddite when it comes to how these arrangements are made and what's involved with that, but they've got a nice like tiered offering. And I'd like to see perhaps more of that as companies continue to develop, so that you don't, like, that's my big fear, is that we get to a place with streaming where everyone is so focused on having as much content as they can that all of a sudden you don't have as many low-cost options. And the whole dream of having a skinny bundle, sorry, I keep botching that, goes away, because everybody's in this content war, producing more and more and signing more and more studios up and all of that sort of thing. So I think, to me, that's the big thing, is making sure that we continue to have choice and options. And as long as that's the case, like, I'm good wading through all of this stuff. I mean, to me, it's like, cool, Netflix, Hulu, maybe Disney Plus will be set. Maybe I'll try Apple TV Plus for a while. All good. Not that much to wade through, really.
Right. Yeah, it's not confusing. It is confusing, but less so than buying a cable bundle and then not watching the 3,000 channels that you get, right?
Right.
And then
right, that's exactly it.
Being confused by the multiple $100 bill that you get every month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another interesting facet to this conversation, of course, with Disney Plus is, what does this do for Netflix, right? Netflix has definitely been, I'd say, the king of the hill for a while when it comes to streaming. And this to me definitely seems like their biggest competitor to date. Disney's got a massive amount of muscle behind them. There was a story from Engadget that talked about Disney apparently told investors this week that it's committed to losing money on Disney Plus until the year 2024. So, they're already committed to running this thing at a loss for the next 5 years. And given the kind of revenues and war chest that Disney has, that's not an insignificant statement, right? Like, they could throw a ton of money at this. So Netflix definitely has some brand value, and I don't expect this to, by any stretch, to like obliterate Netflix by any means, but certainly going to take some of their market share, I would think. The question really does become, okay, at $7 a month, if you're also paying 12 or 13 for Netflix, does it really become a one or the other proposition? Or do people just say, okay, well, that's the price of an expensive latte, like, I'll just do both, So it's a really interesting time in TV. I know we've been saying that for a couple of years now. It's just a really evolving landscape.
You mentioned Hulu there, and Hulu is actually mostly, I think Disney owns now like 60% of Hulu. I want to say I last aired.
Yeah, there was a story this week that I think AT&T sold off their stake. So they had a stake, and now it's just Hulu and Disney.
No, it's Hulu and Comcast.
Sorry, Disney and Comcast.
Yeah. And what's funny is I found this story here. I was looking for the AT&T exiting story, but I found this on multi-channel news. Comcast will seek to remain a pebble in the shoe of majority shareholder Disney, thwarting the latter's effort to bundle streaming services. So Comcast is staying around out of spite. Yeah, Disney has 60%, and then
interesting,
and Comcast owns the other 30. So that only adds up to 980.
Yeah. Engadget story also talks about Disney's strategy sort of being like a pincer movement, and basically what they're doing is Disney Plus will have like the family-friendly educational content that parents love, and then Hulu becomes sort of like you talked about this a while ago on the show, like Buena Vista and Miramax. Those were like studios Disney had to put content out that they didn't want associated with the Disney brand, right? And so they're saying like Hulu could basically become that, the equivalent of that in the streaming world. So they've got Disney Plus now where they can do the family educational stuff, and then Hulu becomes a repository for the material that they don't want, associated with their brand. Interesting thought.
It's even crazier than that. And as AW Rayner's bringing up in the chat, like the Disney buyout was of Fox was huge because they got all of these properties, but they got Marvel as well, and Marvel is Deadpool, and so now Disney is Deadpool. Is there going to be like a Deadpool land at Disney World? Like that'd be crazy. First of all, it would be done very, very well, but crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think the Michael Eisner, is that his name? The CEO.
Yeah, I believe so.
Basically came out and said that Deadpool, they were going to continue doing Deadpool, but it'll be over there. It'll be separate from the Disney brand.
Not in their backyard.
Exactly. Yeah,
right.
yeah. They're happy to make the money off of it, but it's not going to be branded with the little Mickey Mouse intro that you see at the beginning of every cartoon.
Yeah. So shaping up to be a really interesting year between Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus. Those two stories alone make it a pretty interesting year in streaming. And then you've got everything else that's been going on and developing for the last several years or more. So really, really interesting. And we'll continue to keep an eye on it. I do think it really has been one of the most rapidly evolving areas in the home generally when it comes to technology over the last few years. And so a lot of fun to watch and speculate.
What's wild is that I go to Universal quite a bit now because we have those season passes, and both like Marvel, there's a Marvel comic book land, like basically Spider-Man and, X-Men and that kind of thing. And then over in like the other side, there is like The Simpsons, which are also now Disney. Like these are major areas in the theme park that are not Universal or
what do you do?
Yeah, it's part of Disney.
Crazy.
That's wild.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up our news here. All of the links and topics that we've discussed on this episode can be found in our show notes at HomeTech.fm/254. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter. We'll send you show reminders and other occasional updates about all of the great things going on here in the world of home tech. Once again, that link is HomeTech.fm/254.
And don't forget, you can join us each week, starting somewhere around 7:30, Wednesday nights at HomeTech.fm/live for the live broadcast. You can join us in the chat as well. To find out more information, go to HomeTech.fm/live. Today we were live and on time. Like we're ready to go.
Yeah, we strive for it, right, Seth? Good turnout in the chat room tonight. So thank you to all of you hanging out with us live here. We really appreciate it. It truly does make it a lot of fun to sit here and record. Moving on here, we had a mailbag entry. A good friend of the show, Richard Gunther from the Home On podcast, which is a great show. If you have not listened to it, definitely go check it out. If you're a fan of home tech, you'll definitely love his show as well. Again, that's Home On, Richard Gunther. And Richard was kind enough to reach out and follow up on a conversation that we had last week regarding Netflix and their unannounced or, they didn't give any warning about killing off the AirPlay functionality in their app. And so we were talking about that story, and Seth, you and I were both kind of kicking it back and forth and saying, well, is this really a big deal? Like, what's the actual use case? I mean, anything that you would AirPlay to is going to have Netflix built in, so just use the built-in app and be done with it. But, Richard writes in, he says, my Netflix AirPlay use case, hotels. I often travel with an old Apple TV that I'll hook into the TV room. With AirPlay, you can cast offline downloaded content directly to the Apple TV. So pretty smart. Like, as you know, Netflix users know, you can download Netflix content onto your phone, and then you could AirPlay it right onto the Apple TV. This would prevent you from having to worry about connecting to the Apple TV to the hotel Wi-Fi. You could argue that consumers don't download movies and shows anymore, but when you travel as much as Richard does, or as much as I do, as he says, you get used to working offline. Connectivity is still not ubiquitous, unfortunately. So great point there, and I'm trying to figure out where to put in his footnote. I think I'm just going to go ahead and hit it now. He says, unrelated, did Amazon fix the false trigger problem in the past few weeks despite your best efforts? My Echo sat blissfully undisturbed while I listened to your podcasts in my office. So I don't know. Richard loves our Alexa utterances on this show, and apparently they are no longer triggering his Echo. So that's good news, Richard. That doesn't have to weigh on my conscience anymore.
Yeah, and I don't have to worry about editing the dings and things over like that we were getting in trouble for anymore. So yeah, that's great.
We're off the hook.
You know. I'm going to say they went ahead and did it. It was these guys in Bucharest and Costa Rica that were typing in wake words and whatnot. I guess making the product better. Yeah,
there you go. Way to bring it around, Seth.
That's pretty good. That's an interesting use case for the AirPlay. I would not have thought about that. I kind of have a different setup where I bring my own Wi-Fi system along in tow with me when I'm traveling and going to be at a hotel or Airbnb, and I have like a completely different setup that I use and hook an Apple TV directly up to the TV when I can. But no, this makes a lot of sense. I don't think I would ever thought of that. So. Pretty good use case, and you would definitely need, makes the case for having AirPlay or casting built into the Apple TV.
Right. And granted, like, this is not a use case that is going to apply to a large swath of the population, most likely, but it's still a great point. And anytime these little changes are made, they're obviously going to affect people. And to those people, like to Richard, that's a big inconvenience now that he'll certainly find a workaround for. But definitely appreciate you, Richard, sending that over. And Richard, just so you know, Greg's in the chat room telling me that I just triggered his Echo and calling me profane names for it.
He did not. We've done a live testing of this, and from our groups here, it has not been fixed from our test group. We can determine.
Canada has not received the update.
Yeah, Canada has not received the update. Oh, that's great.
Sorry, Greg. Not sorry.
Not sorry. Yeah. So, got a pretty cool pick of the week this week. I ran across this, and it's of course one of these video doorbell recordings from a Nest Cam or a Nest doorbell thing. And man, this is really good. There's a little girl that has implemented a new technique for an old system. So Jason, have you ever done one of these like knock and run off things where you knock on somebody's door and run off?
Oh yeah, the ding dong ditch. That's what we used to call it, at least, or the ding dong ditch. We were masters of that. And she's got this down to a new technique, and I'm drawing a blank on what these things are called.
Hoverboard.
Do you know what? Hoverboard. Thank you. So you see her caught on the Nest Cam, rolling up on her hoverboard, looking around. Looks like she looks right at the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Here she goes. Knock, knock, knock. And she's off on the hoverboard.
She spins that thing around.
Taking off down the driveway. Those things are amazing. I saw my nephew on one of those on a FaceTime call the other day, and what he was doing, I would probably have killed myself if I tried to do that.
The arms up in the air are my favorite part of the
Yeah. This is great. No, that's really funny. This is a good find, courtesy of Reddit. So if you want a quick laugh, go check that out. HomeTech.fm/254. We'll have a link to that and kind of lighten up your day a little bit. If you've got any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, great ideas for a show, guest ideas, any of that, we'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and shoot us an email at feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit our site, HomeTech.fm/feedback, and fill out our online form if you would prefer. Again, we definitely appreciate it. We read all those messages and always enjoy hearing from our supporters.
We want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about our Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day for the inside baseball conversations about all aspects of home technology.
Absolutely. And if you can't support the show financially, we definitely get that. We would love if you would take a few minutes to leave us a review on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Again, taking a few minutes to leave those reviews definitely helps more people to find the show. So if you enjoy what we're doing here, take a moment to do that. We would really appreciate it.
Well, I guess that wraps up the show this week. Jason, it's good sitting down and chatting with you again and talking about everything that's gone on. I think we had a pretty good discussion this week about streaming services and Bloomberg, which is always in the news for messing up their. I mean, this is the same company that did the Apple. They said Apple was being, or Amazon had. It was again, Amazon and Apple had like the spy chip in their servers or something like that they never walked back. Like, man, I am so upset with Bloomberg at this point.
Well, they've done some good work as well. They recently had the piece about like Amazon, the company's wanting like data stream from smart home devices, even when their systems weren't being called upon. Remember, Martin Pleen from Control 4 was quoted in that story. So I guess you kind of take the good with the bad. But anyways, it is fun being able to sit down and chat with you and sort of pick these things apart, kind of dive beyond the headlines, as they like to say. Point out, as Don is calling, fake news every now and then. So anyways, a lot of fun.
It's a loaded term these days.
Yeah, totally. I know. A lot of fun this week. Definitely tune in next week. We got a guest coming on. We're going to do an installment of the Projects Project. So we've not done that in a while, and we'll look forward to jumping into that. So definitely tune in. And Seth, I'll look forward to reconnecting with you again next week.
All right. Sounds good, Jason. Have a great weekend.
All right. You too. Take care.